Hello, everybody. It's Jacob from This is going to be Wednesdays with Wager, number 3. I know that this is a weird time, but I told you guys at the beginning of all this that there would be weeks that I had to do it during the day because I work at night. So I worked last night. I got to work tonight. I got to work tomorrow night. So that's my shift is what's referred to as work, the DuPont schedule. That's how I work. So, all that said, here we are today, doing Wednesdays with Wager in the middle of the day. It is still a Wednesday, so there is still that. So last week, the parlays and the teasers, I just keep missing on. Again, it's earlier in the year, and some of the thought processes I had going into the year turned out not to be true. And that's the case here. My underdog plays are both 2-0. We took Cleveland last week. It got there. Um, the but the teasers and stuff. So a lot of these losses are coming from these teasers, and that's fine. It's early in the year. Teams like New England going in. I didn't have hello. Who do you think will win National League MVP? I haven't been watching much baseball and keeping up with it. But surely it's Shohei, right? I mean, it's going to be a 50-50 season. Or real close to, he's like 48-48 right now. Surely it's Shohei, right? Something historic, they're going to give it to Shohei, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong, but I really think, yeah, I think there's no way around it as it being Shohei. Um, But yeah, that's what I think. And maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I think. The one thing is he did have the gambling scandal this year, and sometimes that hurts guys in baseball. Stuff like that, it ends up following them for multiple years, and they don't win anything because of that. Baseball is kind of fickle like that. I mean, look at guys like Pete Rose and different things. You know, whatever Pete Rose was gambling on, it doesn't even matter. What he did on the field is what is supposed to put him in the Hall of Fame. So, hello, thanks, Lisa. But if you guys followed my Monday night video, I went 4-0, probably an ugly 4-0 that people didn't think. Um, it that's a weird question because, for example, if you're talking about when Shohei is completely healthy and pitching and hitting, it's Shohei. Um, but if Shohei's just a hitter, he's just a power hitter, he's just another 50 home run guy then. Um, the pitching is what separates him. So, for my money, if we're counting when Shohei's completely healthy, he's a starting pitcher and he's batting third or fourth or wherever you have him in the lineup, it's Shohei Ohtani. But if we're talking about just as the hitter side of it, just as the position player side of it, I'm going to say Ken Griffey Jr. I grew up in the Ken Griffey Jr. era. I grew up in the Northwest. Um, when Ken Griffey Jr. was 100% healthy, he was the man. And by all accounts, it didn't take steroids. He wasn't taking steroids by all accounts, and that's a big separation for me. So, but if you're counting what Shohei's pitching side of it as well in, then it's him for sure. No one's ever been like Shohei, even way back in the 20s and stuff. It's not the same thing. So, but anyway, so the overall record for Wednesdays with Wager. Now, this isn't counting my Monday show, which I've done pretty well on, but I'm 12-18-1. And again, guys, a lot of this is the parlays and um, the teasers. Now, these will dial in. So the things about those is early in the season, I don't have data to go off of, right? I don't have a bunch of numbers and data. I have to go off the eye test. I have to go off trends, and I have to go off different things early in the season. Where are you a fan? Um, I'm a fan of the Colorado Rockies. So, I'm a real fan if I'm a fan of the Colorado Rockies. We're just a big farm club. That's all we are. We're a farm club for the big teams. So there you go. But I don't really know what to call you because that's a language I don't know what it is. But thank you for stopping by and thank you for hanging out with us. I've obviously never seen your handle before. So, hey, thank you. And we love talking baseball as much as anything. So, if you're interested in more baseball talk, you should join my Discord. It's just send me an email at wagermethis@gmail.com. And again, I don't know how to say what your name is there. So, hopefully you understand who I'm talking to. But send me an email at Jacob or at wagermethis@gmail.com and I'll send you a Discord invite. And them guys on there, I have some real baseball guys on there, man. Those guys can really talk it. So, uh, but anyway, let's move on. Okay, so let's just talk about week 2. Week 2 had this is one of the weirdest first 2 weeks in NFL history, believe it or not. So, multiple of the teams that the pundits, the analysts, the power ratings, all these people, multiple of those teams are 0-2. The Bengals, the Ravens, 0-2. These teams were thought to be Super Bowl contenders. They were thought to be infallible, that they were, coming after the Chiefs. Well, the Chiefs has beat both of these teams. Now, albeit not handily. Both games were close. Both games were somewhat questionable as far as endings. I mean, but the fact of the matter is the Chiefs are 2-0, and these other teams are 0-2. Now, to take that a step further, a team like the Lions is 1-1 that should probably be 0-2. The Lions just happened to get the Rams game to overtime, and in overtime didn't give the Rams the ball. So they could easily be 0-2 as well. Another one of the darlings going into the season. The Lions weren't one of my darlings, and neither were the Bengals. I did think the Ravens would be really good again. But one of my picks that I thought was going to be really nice and was one of my team total season overs was Tampa. Tampa was a good team last year on their way up, and they seem to have made more adjustments and are even better. Knocking off the Lions in Detroit was a big move for them. And then the Pittsburgh Steelers, I also took their team total over 8.5, and they're 2-0. Now, some of these 2-0 teams, guys, are fictitious a little bit, right? So let's take the Steelers. The Steelers have beat the Denver Broncos and Atlanta Falcons, and they beat Atlanta Falcons week 1. Now, one thing we know about the Steelers for sure is the Steelers defense is amazing. We know that. We knew that going in, that they were going to be really good. So the start of the season for the Steelers lines up to let them win some defensive games and let them get Justin Fields up to speed. So it's only good for them. The Chargers, let's go to the Chargers. They're 2-0. They beat a Raiders team that is obviously better than I thought going in because they just beat the Ravens. And in parts of the game, they were pretty competitive against the Chargers. And then they beat Carolina, which doesn't count. I mean, that shouldn't even count as a win because Carolina isn't even an NFL football team. Really, their roster is made up of second and third guys in depth charts, and they don't have any real stars. I mean, it's not. Carolina is a terrible run franchise, and it's a terrible football team. So the teams that have beat Carolina, it's not impressive. You should be crushing Carolina. But with that said, the Chargers are 2-0. Now the Chargers and the Steelers meet this week, so someone's going to have a loss, but someone's going to be 3-0. Then you have another one that I think is somewhat of a pretender, and that's Seattle, right? So Seattle won a game against Denver, only beat them by 6, only beat Denver by 6. And then New England came to their house, and it took overtime for them to beat New England. So I don't think Seattle is a really, really solid 2-0. I think they're a very shaky 2-0. And Minnesota Vikings, in my opinion, are probably the most impressive 2-0 that we didn't think was going to be 2-0. So, they beat the Giants, doesn't mean much. But they beat the 49ers, and it was at home, but they handily beat the 49ers. Like, the 49ers were never really in the game. Right at the end, it got closer, but they were never really in the game. We're going to get to the Saints. Okay, so the Saints are the tricky one, right? Obviously, they smashed Carolina, and that was our big bet week 1. They crushed Carolina, right? Not a big deal. But going to Dallas and beating Dallas like that, and I know some people will be for Dallas against Dallas. Guys, let's make no mistake. Dallas's defense is talented. I know they got a new defensive coordinator there, but the group itself is full of talent. And New Orleans had no problem. New Orleans did whatever they wanted on Dallas. I mean, and when I say whatever they ran, they passed, they were able to run screenplays, they were able to throw the ball deep. Everything New Orleans did worked, no problem. So New Orleans is a legit team, in my opinion, up to week 2. Nothing about them I see makes me think they're not going to keep winning games. They seem to have put it all together. So one of the things the last couple seasons, especially last season with Derek Carr coming over, is they were injured all the time. They had all kinds of pieces injured all the time. Kamara had that stuff at the start of the year where he was maybe going to be suspended, and Derek Carr ends up getting hurt a few times throughout the year. And it was the first year in the system, so it didn't really work. It looks like they've put it all together now. So barring injury, I do think New Orleans is probably going to be a pretty good football team this year. And the Super Bowl being in New Orleans, that could be a weird angle. But so those are kind of the things, and I probably didn't touch on all of them. But the Bills, okay, so I want to talk about the Bills real quick. I almost forgot this. The Bills are a really good football team. And I know a lot of people, not myself included, I was high on the Bills going in. I thought that the best thing for the Bills was to get younger. I thought getting rid of all those high-priced free agents that they had and all those older players was great for them. And putting more back on Josh Allen, because the thing is when they were putting everything on Josh Allen, they were going to the FC title game. Now they weren't winning yet, but when it was Josh Allen or bust, they were a better football team. Then last couple of years, they've tried to spread it out more, and they weren't as good. So they got rid of all those players, and then they just said, "Here you go, Josh Allen. Let's see if you can do it." Well, he's 2-0 and smashed Miami. Now let's talk about Arizona. Arizona gave the Bills a run for their money. I thought it was kind of fluky, but I guess it's not. So Arizona is a legit offense, and I've rewatched their games a few times. Most teams are going to really struggle to defend Arizona, and the reason is because Arizona is built like they're built like if you took the Ravens and you took the Chiefs and you smashed them together on offense. All right, they got a really mobile quarterback. They got a stud young receiver. They got a stud young tight end. They got a good running game. So they're built like the mixture of those two teams on offense. And I think they're going to score a ton of points this year. Now their defense is somewhat questionable, but I do think that they are going to light up the league. And any team that can't stop a high-powered, like fast-paced offense will not be able to stop Arizona. Arizona will beat those teams. So let's get into week 3. So first thing I want to talk about in week 3 is the Thursday night game, right? So Thursday we have New England and the Jets. So the Jets are supposed to be good, right? The Jets are mediocre, at least up into this point. Week 1 they got absolutely just manhandled by San Francisco, and week 2 when they played Tennessee, because Tennessee's not a good football team, and Tennessee was giving them all they could handle. Now, I will say this is Aaron Rodgers' first real year with the Jets, right? He didn't really have a first year, so he is still figuring it out some. And New England is ahead of schedule, right? They're better than they should be, probably. But in this case, in this game, it is a Thursday night game, so primetime games tend to be, especially these Thursday games from what we've seen throughout the history of Thursday games, is they tend to be a little lower scoring. They tend to be slower. And when they match up teams like this that are going to want to run the ball, that are going to want to play defense, the guys, just nothing about this game screams that this game is going to be high scoring to me. Everything about it screams that it's going to be low scoring, that it's going to be a game where the points matter. And so New England's getting too many points here, I think. The 6 or 6.5, whatever you're looking at, however, wherever you bet, that I think that's too many. I don't think that the Jets spread out by more than a couple points in this one. Now, could the Jets win by 7 late? I guess they could, because that's just one score. But I actually think New England is very live in this game. I think New England easily can beat the Jets in this game, especially because the Jets struggle to stop the run. You would think with the vaunted Jets defense that they'd be able to stop the run, but they're not really built that way. They're built to stop the pass because they're kind of built to beat Josh Allen. That's who they're kind of built to beat Josh Allen. So they're in a weird situation to beat Miami. That they're built to win their division, which is to stop the pass. Well, New England's not that team. New England's going to hammer the ball down their throat. So what I like in this game to start is I like a teaser, a same game teaser. I actually got 6.5, but if you're only going up to 12 or 12.5, doesn't matter. 12 or 12.5 is the same. I like New England plus 12.5 teased with the under, and it takes it to 44.5 from 38.5 to 44.5. So I like New England in the under on a teaser, on a 6-point teaser here. Sometimes, so I wanted to talk about something about these teasers. When I put out a 2-point teaser, guys, sometimes you can do a parlay on an alternate spread or an alternate total and match them, and you'll get way better odds. So this teaser comes back at minus 120. But what I actually did was alternate team total alternate total and alternate spread, and I actually get it at like plus 102 or plus 105, plus 110. So when the 2-pick parlay versus the teaser, so it's kind of a hole that these websites have in them, to where if you can parlay these same game parlay, these alternate totals, it'll actually give you better odds than the teaser. But if you have to do the teaser, that's what it is. So that's one of the plays I like in this game. The other play I like in this game is I like New England plus 3.5 points in the first half. Like I said, I don't think this game's going to spread out, and I think in the first half there's going to be a lot of punches back and forth. I don't think there's going to be a lot of scores. I think New England plus the 3.5 in the first half. That gives you two options. New England can just be winning, or New England can be losing by 3 or less at the half. To me, that seems very likely that that's the situation, right? I actually believe that New England will probably be winning at this point. So let's go to a couple props I like in this one. So I'm going to go to the field goal prop, right? This is not very good juice. I got it at minus 160, but I put 1.5 units on it. Over 3.5 total field goals in the game, guys. I don't think there's going to be a lot of touchdowns in this game. I think that these teams are going to run the ball up and down the field, and then they're going to kick field goals on each other. I don't think they're going to score a ton of touchdowns. So, and also both of these coaching staffs are coaching staffs that'll settle for 3, right? They're going to, if there is 4th and 3, they're not going for it. They're going to kick a field goal. So only 4 total field goals in the whole game is all you need. Over 3.5 field goals is how the bet reads. I like that. And if you get them all from one side, that's fine. Now you can bet the kickers individually and get a little better juice, but then you have to have that specific kicker accomplish that. In this case, it's just over 3.5 field goals. And then the last bet that I like in this game is Ramondre Stevenson to have over 100 rush plus receiving yards. And this one was plus 150 when I got it. Last I looked, it was down to like 138. But still, this is a great play at plus money. He's going to get the touches. So I'm going to look it up real quick what his touches were, because I don't remember them off the top of my head. Let me look at his touches real quick for the last 2 games. Okay, so versus the Bengals, he had 25 attempts rushing, and versus the Seahawks, he had 21 attempts rushing. Now, that's just his rushing, right? I don't have it directly related right here. to see the receiving. I would have to go to StatMuse or whatever. But so just the rushing attempts alone, he's got over 20 each game. So that's a clear indicator that he's probably going to get close to this. If he catches a screen pass or two and adds 30 yards in there, that's where we want to be at. I actually think this is at plus money. This is a really solid play. So the way this bet reads on most sites is 100 plus. It'll say 100 plus. Some sites it'll be over 99 and a half, but on the sites I use, it'll say 100 plus rushing plus receiving yards, and that's where I'm at. I think that Ramondre Stevenson play is going to be a pretty solid play. As far as touchdown scores in this game, I don't think there's going to be a lot of touchdowns. So to me, it's too much of a toss-up to worry about that. So that's what I like in Thursday. Just to recap, what I like on Thursday is New England and the under teased, and then New England in the first half plus 3.5, and then over 3.5 total field goals made in the game. And then Ramondre Stevenson over 100 yards rushing or receiving or combined yards. Again, this is not like the best Thursday night game ever. But as far as Thursday night games go, at least it's divisional. At least it's two kind of equally matched teams, at least up to this point from what we're seeing. And I actually think it's going to be a really good football game. It's just going to be a slow football game. It's going to be a low scoring football game. Like I have no problem at all thinking this football game is 17-14. Like I think 17-14, 17-13, even 20-14 or something. I know that's a lot of touchdowns, but something like that. I actually think it's going to be, and what I mean is low scoring. So it could be 9-9 at the half. I mean, that's a very real score for this game. But anyway, moving on. Okay, so we're going to go to ATS plays. Favorite and dog. I've done pretty well on these so far this year. This one's going to be pretty simple for me. I'm taking New Orleans minus the 2.5. Let's see if that's changed over the night in a slip. Okay, so it's... What the heck happened? Okay, so so this is one of the things. Really, we missed out on the Saints. If you were there at the Open, I wanted to talk about this. If you were there on the Open at the Saints, you actually got the Saints plus 3. You could have, when this opened, you could have got the Saints plus 3. Crazy. Right now it's at 2.5 pretty well everywhere, threes. If you have to lay 2.5 or 3, guys, the Eagles don't stop anything. They don't stop the run or the pass. This is in New Orleans. The Eagles are coming off a heartbreaking loss. I don't see where the Eagles should be within 3 in this game. I don't see it. If you get the 2.5, you should go for the 2.5. Then you only got to win by a field goal. So even if the Saints come back to earth some, you still only have to win by a field goal. Again, from all accounts, when you watch the Eagles games, they don't stop anything on defense. And that was their same problem last year, is that they really didn't stop the pass last year. Now they're not stopping the run or the pass. So the defense hasn't got better. New Orleans has obviously got better. And also A.J. Brown is up in the air. I just think this is a relatively straightforward ATS play. I don't think there's more to it than, hey, we're laying less than a field goal with a team that's probably on top of the NFL right now in all statistical categories, and we're laying less than a field goal at home. So the Saints play is, to me, it's not a difficult thought process to get here. Again, sometimes those are the ones that go awry because you don't see some weird angle or something, but I don't think there is one here. I don't think the Eagles have a pass rush that's going to get to Carr. And I don't think the Eagles will be able to stop the Saints offense. Derek Carr has scored on like 16 straight drives. 16 straight drives he's scored on. It wouldn't surprise me if he scores on the first 4 or 5 in this one. So, again, it's not always rocket science, right? Sometimes it's just what it is. I actually just think this is a bad line from Vegas. I think this should be 6.5. You should be getting some value at home. The Saints do have a solid home field advantage. And I just think the Eagles aren't very good right now. They're not complete. It is two new coordinators. It's they're getting AJ Brown's hurt. AJ Brown's not hurt. You know Saquon Barkley's new. Now they are using him really well, but I just think this is at least a 3-point win for the Saints. And it may very well come down to it, and then they win. Either way, it'll be fine. I'm laying 2.5 with the Saints. Favorite ATS play, favorite ATS play. So for the favorites. As far as the dog goes, I'm taking Arizona at home versus Detroit. And again, I'm not high on Detroit like other people are. A lot of the pundits, a lot of people are. I'm not high on them. All right. You get them at +3. I think Arizona's playing better football than they are. I think that the fact that they're at home matters. I think that Arizona, at this point in the season, is the better football team. Aiden Hutchinson last week against Tampa had 5 sacks, and they still lost. They still needed a touchdown at the end of the game. The Tampa Bay still was up by a full score. They still, I don't think that the Lions secondary is going to be able to handle what the Cardinals do. And if you watch the Tampa Lions game, Arizona, Baker Mayfield ran all over him. Every time he ran, there was 20 yards to run. Well, now you have a much better runner in Kyler Murray that you're facing that is going to run. They're going to call some runs for him. I don't understand how Arizona is getting points at home. This doesn't make any sense to me. I know a lot of people going into the year were high on the Lions. The Lions were a very trendy Super Bowl pick. They were ascending to the top of the NFC. Their roster is built so well. See, I disagree with that. I think their roster is built poorly, especially on offense. I think they have too many mouths to feed because they got Amon-Ra St. Brown. They have 2 running backs in Gibbs and Montgomery. They have a tight end in Laporta, and then they have the Jameson Williams. It's too many mouths. It's too many number 1 talents to feed. And I think we're seeing that a little in the beginning of the year where they're trying to get everyone involved instead of riding one side, riding one stud. And I don't think it'll work. I don't think they can go on the road, especially after a big loss to Tampa. I don't think they can go on the road and beat Arizona. I don't think this is and you're getting points. You're getting 3 points. So personally, this is one of my favorite plays of the whole day. This, to me, this play has so many angles to it, has so many teasers to it, has so many just parts of it that tell you scream Arizona. Anyone that's on the Lions is thinking in the process of what they thought before the year, because the Lions haven't shown this prowess. The Lions lucked up and got to overtime and beat a decimated by injuries LA Rams team. And then Tampa Bay came to their house and beat them all game. It wasn't like the Lions were ahead and Tampa Bay came back. There was one instance where the Tampa Bay was losing and came and scored. The rest of the game, Tampa was ahead. So, and I think the Cardinals, they've both at this point faced the Rams, and the Cardinals demolished the Rams. So there's just so much here to me that screams the Cardinals. I like the +3. I think it's a great play. All right, moving on. Let's go to the money line favorites and dogs. I've done pretty well with this one as well. The favorite is easy for me here. I'm just going to go to the Kansas City Chiefs. They're playing Atlanta on Sunday night. You're getting the primetime Kirk Cousins thing. Now, he played pretty well in primetime against Philly. I say that. He played one good drive, really, at the end of the day. But the reason I like this one, Atlanta has no pass rush. If you watch the Philly game, if you watch against the Saints or the Steelers, Atlanta doesn't get to the quarterback at all. And against Patrick Mahomes, if you don't have any pass rush, he's going to score every drive. If there's no one ever rushing, no one ever getting there, he's going to score every time. And that's kind of what I think here. I don't think this game will be close. Plus, Atlanta's coming off this big, huge win in Philly. I know they're coming home, but you're bringing the Chiefs to a dome, and you have no pass rush. You're going to get shredded. The Chiefs are way too good. to have a team that's not going to get to Patrick Mahomes. If you're not ever going to get to Patrick Mahomes, you're going to lose by 20. So that's where I'm at here. I don't think they can do it. I don't think Atlanta can win this game. I don't think anything about the Chiefs is scared of Atlanta. I don't think any player on Atlanta gives the Chiefs any type of pause. They're not worried about Atlanta's running game or their passing game. And I think Kirk Cousins is going to spend a lot of time on his back. I don't think this is that hard of a pick. I think it's Kansas City. It's minus 180. To me, that's kind of a bargain here. The fact that you don't even have to lay 200, you don't even have to lay a 2-1 here. You know, I don't think you're missing out on anything here. I think this is a pretty easy play. Plus, the Chiefs are going to win, right? The Chiefs are trying to win the 1 seed. They're trying to three-peat. So winning every game is mattering to them. They're not going to take a break here. I don't see any way here where the Chiefs don't win this game easily. And most of it really revolves around Atlanta doesn't rush the passer at all. I mean, it's terrible. It's so bad. So I don't really have much else to say about that out. I just don't think the Chiefs can lose that game. The money line dog. So this one's tricky. I have Arizona already bet just to win their game. They're plus 120-ish, 125-ish, 130-ish some places, which is a really good money line dog. In a team getting points at home that I think is the better team. And so I love Arizona here. So if you don't want to take the points with them, the money line is also a really great option. I'm doing both. So, but if you're not going to do that, as far as the money line dogs this week goes, there's not a whole bunch of other just like really great options, right? Because most of the dogs, they don't have much of a chance of winning, I don't think. And that's the key to taking the money line is you got to win. Your team you pick has to win. And so I think it's Arizona. I think it's only Arizona as far as that goes. Now, if you wanted to take the Ravens or the Cowboys, because you can get them a dog either way, right? Some places have the Ravens favored, some places have the Cowboys favored. I feel like you're flipping a coin, right? That's a very coin flippy game. I know a lot of people will bet on that game just because they're popular teams. To me, that's one of the worst games of the week to be betting on. Like there doesn't make a lot of sense to be betting on that game. Both teams are in a weird limbo, but I know a lot of people will be on that one. All right, so money line dog. I like Arizona. I think, like I said, I think Arizona sends the Lions back down to a losing record at 1. They'll be at 1-2. Probably should have been at 3-0 by the time, or 0-3. So, but let's move on. The over and the under. All right, so here's a tricky one, right? Miami versus Seattle. The total is 41. Or when I bet it was 41. Let's see what it is now. Let's go change this. I'm on Vegas Insider because then I can look at all the books or a lot of the books at once. For you guys that I know you guys bet, a lot of people use FanDuel or DraftKings or state sites they got to use. I use state sites for my place. So it's 41.5 pretty well everywhere. I actually think this is an over. Skylar Thompson got thrown in against the Bills late. He did move the ball some. And this is all the way in Seattle, so I do think Seattle's going to have a good showing. Like I think Seattle's going to score 24 plus. I think they're going to score more than 24 points. Partly because their offense is pretty good and Miami's defense is not great. And also because Skylar Thompson's going to give them the ball a few times. Now, on the flip side, I actually think that Miami will score a little bit because I think McDaniel will scheme up some stuff to get Tyreek Hill on the move, to get A-Chain on the move, to get some of these guys on the move for Thompson to make little dump-off plays. So I do think that Miami will score a few times. Being that it's only 41.5, Vegas thinks that Miami's not going to score. I disagree. I think they will score a little bit, and I also don't think they'll stop Seattle from going 3-0. So likely at the end of the day, Seattle will be 3-0, will be leading their division. So again, not great for Seattle. Great for Seattle. Geno Smith, amazing. Now on the under, I like Chicago and Indy to go under, and I'll explain why I like this. It's 43 when I bet it. Chicago, Indy under. Now, both of these teams have young quarterbacks that are supposed to be really great, right? Well, when you have young quarterbacks that are supposed to be really great, they tend to make really big mistakes. And so I think that happens here. And I also think both of these teams dial these guys in and they try to run the ball and rely on their defense more in this game. Um, and the 43, I think, is too many. I think this game ends up something 17-13, 20-13, something like that. I don't think it ever gets to 40. So I like the Chicago and Indy under. I don't see a world where Chicago lets Indy score a bunch of points, and I don't see a world where Chicago scores a bunch of points. Not necessarily that Indy stops them. I just don't think Caleb Williams is quite there yet. And teams are confusing him, and his O-line ain't great. That's one of the other things is his O-line isn't all that good. They won their first game because of two defensive scores or a special teams and a defensive score. Otherwise, they lose to the Titans. Now, they played a pretty good game in Houston defensively, held Houston to 19 points. But Caleb Williams couldn't get it going on offense. He had lots of chances. It wasn't like Houston was always stopping them. Sometimes Caleb Williams just missed. Now, other times he was snapping the ball and running for his life. So I just don't think this one has many points in it. I think it stays pretty low scoring. And I also think both coaching staffs are looking for a more low scoring game. They're looking for a tighter game. I think they're going to run the ball more in that one. I basically what I think is they're going to take the ball out of the rookie's hands. And make no mistake, Richardson is somewhat of a rookie still. He hasn't played a full season in the NFL. So I think that's what they're going to do. I think both of these coaching staffs are going to kind of take the ball away from them boys. And they're going to try to rely on their defense, keep it close, try to win it in the fourth. So them are my over and unders. Miami over 41, Miami, Seattle over 41, and Chicago, Indy under 43. If there's a hook on either of these, I'm fine with the hook. The hook don't bother me. All right, so let's go to prop. Prop bet, my favorite prop bet of the week. Guys, this is probably my favorite prop bet of the so far that I've seen. And that's the LA Chargers and the Pittsburgh Steelers over 3.5 field goals for the game. I don't think there's going to be, if there's 3 touchdowns in this game, I will be shocked. Both of these defenses are playing really well. Both of these teams are 2-0. And I think both of these coaching staffs are completely okay with field goals. So I like this. I think that Fields is going to run into his first real test here with the Chargers and with Harbaugh and the way they're going to play. And I think that Pittsburgh is running into their first real test with the way Harbaugh will play as well with running the ball. And this is the best quarterback Pittsburgh's seen so far. So I like this one. I think over 3.5 field goals in the Chargers and Pittsburgh game. This could happen on the first 4 drives. I mean, at halftime, I fully expect this bet to be within 1 field goal or 1 at halftime. I don't think that, honestly, I think there will be 1 touchdown in this game. I just don't think that there's much involved in this game. And that leads you, if you like the under, now the under was like 35. That's just such a hard under to swallow at 35. But the scores have been way lower this year. They've trended way lower to start the season here. Not surprising with no preseason, with the way they're throwing rookies in, with the defenses being ahead of the offenses, but that all lends to kicking more field goals, and the field goals to touchdown ratio is way off this year in football. So no reason, let's ride that wave. Let's ride this field goal wave, and let's get on a game that's probably going to be full of field goals. Pittsburgh has covered this, I think, in both weeks by themselves so far. I think both weeks Pittsburgh has covered 4 field goals. I know week 1 they kicked all field goals. It was like, they had like 18.6 field goals or something. And then last week, I think they kicked 4 field goals. Don't quote me on that one, but I think it was 4 field goals. So again, I don't think that's a tough one. I think that's a pretty easy prop bet. Obviously, there's props for every player, almost every skilled player on every team. So there's a bazillion more props you can look at. But if I was just going to pick one favorite one, and that's what I'm doing in these videos, these are my favorite plays. And I want to talk about that a little bit when we get done. This being my favorite plays. All right. Now let's go to the parlay. Guys, I'm going to take the Chiefs and the Saints, and I'm going to lay the 2.5, and I'm going to lay the 3.5. Well, the 3.5 for the Chiefs and the 2.5 for the Saints. I know Arizona would fit this, right? It seems like it makes a lot of sense. But in this case, these are the two teams that I think are the most for sure winners of the day. So that's where I'm at. I think I say that they're not the most for sure winners, but they're with their spread. All right. So my favorite parlay is Kansas City minus 3.5, New Orleans minus 2.5. Teasers tricky. I have two teasers this week. I'm teasing Tampa and Cleveland together. Tampa was laying 7. Cleveland was laying 6. Cleveland is playing the Browns. Cleveland are the Giants, and Cleveland's at home. And then Tampa Bay, one of my darlings this year. Hold on. I'm trying to get everything situated. Tampa Bay's playing my Denver Broncos in Tampa. Tampa won't lose that game. The Browns won't lose their game. I think it's a pretty easy teaser. You could probably even parlay that one. They're both laying basically a touchdown, so you can have some backdoor action there. So I like teasing it down to just win -1, -0.5. So Tampa and Cleveland on the teaser. Remember, you go look at the alternative lines, you're going to get better. You're going to get a better payout. So take Tampa money line and Cleveland money line, and you're probably going to get a better payout than the teaser. Maybe not, though. Sometimes it doesn't work. And then for my second teaser of the week, I like Arizona and the Chargers, both getting 2.5, teasing them up over 8.5. I don't think either team can lose their game by a touchdown or by more than a touchdown. So I think that's also a really good teaser. So you got Arizona and the Chargers both getting 2.5, teasing that one up over the touchdown. Now, if you were going to just alternative line parlay this one, you could take and just tease it up, just take the 7.5 on the alternate lines and then parlay them. And that's still the same thing. 8.5 versus 7.5, not a big difference. I don't think it would ever matter in those games. So that's where I'm at on that one. So the teasers, I got Tampa Bay and Cleveland teased, 6-point team, 2-team teaser. Arizona and the Chargers, 6.2 team teaser. I think both of them, as far as the teasers I've played this year so far, which are over, I haven't won yet, I think these are by far more the more higher quality bets than those other ones were. With the information I have now, with the what's gone on in the NFL, all the stuff, I think these are far better, the better plays so far as teasers go. Now, for Survivor, so I lost last week on Survivor because I had the Colts. I thought that they would dominate Malik Willis. They did not. Then they had chances at the end of the game to win and at least to save some Survivor pools. They did not. But I'm still going to put out Survivor picks for the people that didn't follow the Colts. I'm going to give my opinion on it. I think Seattle is a really good Survivor pick. I think Seattle beats Skylar Thompson in Miami, and it's a good spot to use Seattle at home, playing an East Coast team that flies out there with a backup quarterback. Now, you could look at it as injured player theory, which I went against last week in the same Survivor spot with bad results. But I don't think it happens here. I think Seattle wins, laying 4.5. I think they get it done here. So my Survivor pick in the Survivor pools I'm no longer involved in. But just for your guys' benefit, if you want to know what I think, Seattle minus 4.5. If you want a second Survivor pick, I like the Browns. I know people, like last week when I was mentioning the Browns, this is a good money line play. People didn't believe me, and they almost gave it up. They almost didn't come through. So, not in this case. I think it's a lot better. You're getting a much better team that's 2-0, team that's riding high. They're at home. They're facing a team that's reeling, that's just lost their starting quarterback. I think the Seattle side is a pretty good side to be on here. All right, so just to recap, Thursday night, I like New England in the under on a teaser. I like New England first half plus 3.5. I like Ramondre Stevenson over 100 combined rushing and receiving yards. I like over 3.5 field goals in the game. As far as ATS goes, I like New Orleans -2.5. ATS dog, I like Arizona +3. For my favorite money line bet, I like the Kansas City Chiefs. For my favorite money line dog, I'm going back to the Arizona Cardinals. I like them at home. Over and under, my favorite over, I like over 41 in Miami, Seattle. Favorite under, I like Chicago and Indy to go under the 43. My favorite prop is the Chargers and Pittsburgh over 3.5 field goals made in the game. I don't think there will be very many touchdowns. My favorite parlay is Kansas City and New Orleans -3.5 plus or -3.5 for Kansas City, -2.5 for New Orleans. Favorite teasers, I have 2 this week. Tampa Bay and Cleveland teased, Arizona and the Chargers teased. Survivor pick is Seattle. All right, guys. Love it. Again, thank you for joining me in the middle of the day. Sometimes I got to do this in the middle of the day because I got to work at night sometimes. So I told everyone that at the beginning of the year, so hopefully no one's surprised. Again, in this case, I wanted to talk about just like teasers and parlays and different things. Guys, when I say these are my favorite plays, these are my favorite plays when I'm going through here and I'm going through all the analytics of everything and I'm saying, okay, my favorite ATS plays this. And I do that specifically for this video because this isn't how I gamble necessarily. I do a lot more in what I do. On my Discord, I post a lot of what I do. But for example, all the early games I'll have paired with Kansas City. So if I'm betting the Saints -3 or 2.5 early, I have them paired with Kansas City late with the idea that I'll be able to come back on Atlanta if I want to live. And the reason is because the parlay will give me room to adjust like an arbitrage bet. So I don't know if you guys know what arbitrage betting is, but if you don't, look it up. So in instances like this week where you get a favorite on the Sunday night game, that is a good favorite to ride with, right? Kansas City. So you lay the 3.5 with Kansas City on every one of your single bets. So all these, you parlay them all, that's what I'm saying. So if you like Arizona, you like Cleveland, you like Seattle, you like all these early game bets, 3 o'clock game bets, you pair them all with Kansas City. So now you're getting the, let's say 2.3 to 1 odds, right? 2 picks usually run in that range. Now you can come back and during the game, you can lay off some of your money or you can make a middle by coming onto the Atlanta side. You can play the Atlanta money line for plus money. So what'll happen, let's say I take the Browns, Seattle, or no, let's say I go with the Browns, Tampa, Saints, and Arizona, all individual, but I pair them all with Kansas City. So now I have 4 bets out, 4 1-unit bets that are going to pay me 2.3, right? I have Kansas City -3.5. Now I can come back and because let me look at the money line in that game so I have a exact number. All right. Yeah, scroll down now. All right, here we go. So the Falcons are roughly 150, right? So I have 2.3 versus 150, 1.5. So if I bet 1 unit on both sides, now I can't lose, right? I say that I can lose because I could get middled on the spread. But so maybe I don't need to confuse people. But so with that money line, you can make it to where you can lay off those 4 units is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so you have the 4 bets at 2.3 to 1. All right, let's say they all win, so you're into the Kansas City game. All right, all you need is Kansas City to cover to win 2.3 times 4, which is 9. Okay, 9 units for 4. Now you can come over here. All you have to do is cover your 4. And so you can put 2 units on the Atlanta side, which will cover 3, right? So now your overall risk, as long as it doesn't get middled on that spread, is only 1 unit. And so those are the things that I do. I don't put them in this video because this is a little more advanced sports betting stuff. And you can match it with these late games that are separate from all the other games. So when you like a team a lot, parlaying them with the night game doesn't mean anything. So all you're doing is gaining value. And so now when you get to the night game, you have to have enough money to make another bet to adjust your value, but you guarantee profit then. And so that's another thing I do. And maybe I need to make a whole separate video on it and show it, because it's probably not a good thing to try to explain in this video when I can't really explain it and show it. I need to kind of show it on like live screen, you know what I mean, going through a betting site so you guys can see it. So maybe I need to do that. It's probably a bad thing to just try to explain talking. Now, another fun thing about this week is there's 2 Monday night games. So Monday night football video, guys, tune in for that. Will be a lot of fun because we'll have 2 games to break down, which gives us more options on betting and all that. So it's always cool. But anyways, that's where I'm at this week, guys. Hopefully my last little rant didn't confuse people. So don't try that unless you understand what I'm saying. But that's one of the ways. So I don't put that stuff. What I was getting at is I don't put all that what I do in these videos. You can get it from me on the Discord, or you can send me an email yourself and I'll explain it to you. Wagermethis@gmail.com. But there's more to this than just picking a team and betting a team. Like there's way more. There's strategy to sports betting. For example, betting all of the interception props on primetime, right? There's strategy to it. There's, are you taking home dogs? Are you taking, what strategy are you using? It's more than just, I like them the best, And so again, guys, hopefully I wasn't really confusing here at the end. I feel like I was though. So anyways, we'll move on here. Thursday night football tomorrow. It's a big game for the Jets. I don't think it's a big game for New England because I do think New England's a bad football team. I just think they haven't shown it yet. New England's going to be one of those pesky teams that covers a lot of spreads. They don't win a lot of games. So the Jets is a huge game for them. Really, if the Jets don't win this game, their season's over. And I hate to say that for the Jets fans, but if they lose to New England, they'll be 3 games behind. At that point, then Buffalo, they're not going to catch Buffalo. I don't think they're going to be in the wild card. So the Jets have to win this game. It's a must-win for them. But anyways, guys, thank you for your time and watching me and listening to me rant about sports betting. Hopefully you guys are making money. Obviously, if you followed everything I've put out so far, you are not making money, unless you did the Monday night games as well, because they have kind of saved the day. But it will get better. This is the beginning of the season, guys. I have to gather data. I have to gather stats. You're going off the eye test and off of what you think you know about players to start the season. Once it all starts leveling itself out and lining itself out with who's good, who's bad, you're going to start getting a clearer picture, and it actually makes the betting easier. So thank you for your time. This is Jacob from Wager Me This.